Hey guys, welcome to Neutrality. I'm Freeman Voiles, and if you listen to the trailer, you know that this is a space where hopefully you can separate yourself from the chaos of our world. I have created this space because I believe that our generation is a passionate generation. It is a thriving generation. It is an amazing generation that is asking such good questions. We are so engaged, yet we are really struggling generationally. We're struggling sexually, emotionally, we're struggling within our relationships, in school. We're just struggling. And so I just want to be a space where we can resist the chaos of inflammation, negativity, and really get to the core of what we're asking one another. Neutrality is essentially refusing to aid either side in conflict. And I don't just mean political sides, I also mean philosophical sides, religious sides, and anything in between that you might disagree with someone on. Just refusing to participate in inflammation and divisive activity. Neutrality is not, however, refusing to take a stand, refusing to have an opinion. It's just refusing to be crazy about it. So, if you have found yourself confused ideologically, or just looking for a space to really think these things through, I am with you. If you have been in my life for my entire life, like maybe my mom or my husband, you know that I have really found myself in all kinds of different tribes and philosophical groups. I have found myself in Seattle in the far left. I have found myself in Montana, kind of in the far right. And now I'm in North Carolina, where somehow I have been able to find a new space. I have struggled to feel like either side actually fits what my conscience is allowing me to participate in. I have noticed that both sides and any effort to find a tribe for the sake of finding a tribe is failed, because ultimately we're so much more than any box or label society might subscribe to us. We want to subscribe to these labels because it's familiar and it allows ourselves to be, identified as such and therefore have an alliance with people of that same label, when in reality that's limiting ourselves, because we're much more than a label. We're much more than a Democrat. We're much more than a Republican. We're much more than a Christian or secular or LGBTQ. We are dynamic. We may have one idea that's this way and one idea that's that way. It has been exhausting limiting myself to one label because I'm more than that. And it allows people to limit me when I give myself that label. So, neutrality is ultimately going to be the answer to this division that we're experiencing. I'm not saying that I'm the answer. I'm not even saying that this community is the answer. But hopefully it's something different that you can allow yourself to be diverse, I know that when I say one thing that sounds like a leftist headline, my family is like, well, look at you, the leftist. And I'm like, yeah, but I also think this, So try to not put labels on me. Try to not put labels on others. Try to not put labels on yourself, because ultimately that's just limiting yourself. Obviously, inflammation is at the heart of why we are so divided. If you are involved in my generation, I do not need to convince you that the media you're probably consuming, or maybe if you're like me, the media you're trying to avoid, is inflammatory and capitalizing on you being uncomfortable, angry, and fearful of the other. We are going to resist that here at Neutrality. You will never catch me engaging in clickbait or anything that might create hostility, intentionally at least. Of course, I'm going to tell you what I think about this issue, who I'm going to vote for even, why I'm not going to vote for this person, why I think this is the issue that we need to be thinking about, why this is super important to me. I think that we have failed at creating inclusivity by saying the word inclusivity and hoping that we're going to make some kind of change. I think inclusivity is actually going to be achieved when we're clear with one another. Because the term inclusivity is actually very ambiguous, because who are we including? Well, in this space, we're including libertarians, Republicans, liberals, those in the middle, the LGBTQ community, conservative Christians, minorities, white people. Literally anyone is included in this space, and I'm going to be specific about that. I also think that noise on top of noise creates chaos. I feel like every time something happens, I, along with everyone I know, is expected to post about said event. And if they don't post, then they don't care. In my opinion, posting something for the sake of posting it is creating chaos. It is creating noise on top of noise. You will not catch me commenting on something that I do not know much about. You will not catch me talking about something that I don't feel like I'm going to bring a new perspective to the conversation. I feel like if people aren't going to contribute in a meaningful and maybe new way to the conversation, stay out of it. I mean, if you have something to share and it's on your heart, great, because that's personal and that's meaningful. But if we're just talking to talk, it just creates chaos. And if you're like me, that gets exhausting. Ultimately, the only people that deserve to have a platform and be listened to are those that firmly believe they are bringing a new perspective, or they're an expert. I'm obviously not an expert on anything other than being a Gen Z woman, but I do feel like I have some new perspectives that I want to discuss, and I think that gives me a reason to have this platform. I want to earn your trust. I want to earn this platform. I want to earn you your time. I want to prove to you that this is worth participating in. I don't think I deserve your time and attention. I want to engage with you and hopefully grow with you because I value you, I value your time, and I value your conscience, ultimately. I never want to put something out that is going to violate your conscience. Of course, there's going to be negative moments where I have to talk about something that is negative, but that's because there are important things to discuss. If there's negativity or sadness in this space, it's only because it's from God. If there's joy and goodness, it's not because we're capitalizing on someone else's loss. It's because that joy and that goodness, I believe, is from God. The art of patiently and compassionately listening to one another has gone out the window. I know that the left blames the right for all kinds of issues, and the right is blaming the left for all kinds of issues, and we have not found a way of listening to one another in a meaningful way. Our conversations often end in, despising one another, fearing one another, and I mean, that's even if we have a conversation. Most of the time, we don't actually have conversations with people of the other side because it's seen as weakness to do so. So, I believe that's false. I believe listening to one another is a form of strength, and I think we can only benefit from listening to one another and engaging in discussion. You might be wondering if this is the space for you because I'm obviously being very ambiguous about what I'm talking about. I'm not telling you what I think about everything right now, and I'm not always going to tell you what I think of everything because ultimately I want to give you the tools to critically think about these issues through the lens that I think about them, because I think that I have worked tirelessly basically my whole life to form a conscience that is going to be philosophically consistent. I have seen moral relativism kind of infiltrate our society, and it's a comfortable way of approaching issues, but it is a deeply flawed way. I believe philosophical consistency is going to solve these problems. So, If you have found yourself in an inflammatory tribe, or maybe your friend group is hateful towards this group, or maybe your family, or maybe this cool Instagram account you follow has put out problematic content to you, neutrality might be the space for you. If you have never considered politics, neutrality might be the space for you. If you are thinking critically about politics, neutrality is definitely a space for you, because I cannot go into the specific basic things about what is the difference between right and left. This is definitely a space for people who have been thinking deeply about these things. And if you haven't, then you'll catch up. It's going to be fun to learn with me. Maybe you have been a part of a political affiliation your whole life, and given recent events, you're finding yourself panicked because that party or that side is not what it used to be. Neutrality is a space for you. If you are the kind of person that wants to see the other side apologize, and you want to apologize yourself for the hurt that your side has caused, neutrality is the space for you. If you're interested in travel and fashion, neutrality is the space for you. If you just want to hear the other side because maybe you have been involved in a very particular community your whole life and you've never actually considered the merits of the left or the right or Christians or, progressives, neutrality is the space for you. If you're tired of conforming to a box or a community that does not have your best interests at heart, neutrality is the space for you. If you're interested in forming a conscience that I believe is of God and of goodness, neutrality is the space for you. I really want this to be a diverse and deeply, deeply spiritual space. I am going to do a lot of thinking about what I do post, and I'm going to be doing even more thinking about what I don't post. You're going to notice that I'm not going to give you all the answers, and that's because I want you to get in touch with that conscience that God has given you that was meant for your survival. It was meant for your spiritual freedom. Ultimately, the lack of and the silencing of our consciences is the root of this division. If we could get back in touch with what does my conscience say about how this situation is unfolding, I think we would be free. I was actually talking to my husband in the car about this on one of our drives. We have learned to silence that conscience that says, this isn't right. Or to silence the conscience that says, that's beautiful, when my tribe is telling me that that's weakness, or that that's flawed, or that that's a problem. There is so much beauty to be found once you eliminate the constraints of labels. Rather than asking someone how they subscribe, ask them what they think about this issue, or ask them what keeps them up at night, or why they wake up in the morning, and who they are, and what do they work for, and what do they think about the world, because that's at the root of who we are. The labels we put on ourselves, and I know I'm probably sounding redundant, but they are limiting us. They are shallow. They are superficial. And they are ways that the enemy allows us to be limited. Hopefully that makes sense. If you are confused and intrigued, then you are definitely invited to stay for episode 2, which will be this week. The plan for this podcast is to upload at least 1 or 2 episodes a week. I do not want to put a lot on your table. Or a lot on your plate. I don't want to overload you. I just want to be a short, maybe 20-minute podcast a couple times a week to get you thinking about different things and opening your mind a little bit. And it'll be uncomfortable, but if it's uncomfortable, it's because it's working. So if any of this intrigues you, I invite you to stay a while. I want to normalize changing our minds when given new information. I want to normalize holding other people accountable, holding ourselves accountable, holding our tribe accountable. I want to normalize something else. Okay. I want to normalize calm interactions, thoughtful interactions, passionate interactions without cornering someone or making them feel grilled, or the defensiveness associated with these conversations. Let's just normalize being outwardly neutral, right? Calm, patient, understanding, and inwardly passionate, driven, appreciative, willing, able, and excited to do something about what we're learning with one another. I want you to comment. I want you to follow. I want you to email me. I want you to go to the online. I have all kinds of stuff there because I want to be engaged with you. I want to maybe even have you on the podcast if you have something cool to say. I want this to be interactive. And I truly mean that. Obviously, I work full-time and I'm in school, so there will be times when I'm kind of MIA, but this is really going to be fun for me. I have nothing to gain from this, by the way. Like, I'm not making money from this. I'm in my back bedroom, and I do not see you as any kind of dollar signs, so I have nothing to gain from this other than learning from you, and hopefully I can prove to you that I am worth listening to. Thanks so much for joining me, and stay neutral, y'all. Bye!